It feels like it would be a cliche to start this video off by saying that this is probably the perfect time to play against Man City. But for me, a more accurate way to kickstart this video is reminding us that, sadly, Man City see us how we see Tottenham. Because our record against City, my lord, it's not spoken about enough. It's been absolutely treacherous. And we haven't picked up a win in our last 10 encounters. Not since those glory days that we saw under Thomas Tuchel, where we did something unprecedented and beat Man City 3 times in a season. There's been no wins in the last 6 games. No home wins in the last 6 games. Our last away win against Man City came courtesy of a great goal by Hakim Ziyech and a late goal for Marcos Alonso. The only recent times our performances have shown some pride against City came under Pochettino last season, where we played 2 of our best games of that season in an epic 4-4 draw against them at home and a resilient 1-1 draw at the Etihad Stadium. So even though Man City have lost their fear factor, even though this Man City team needs to revamp, re-strengthen and regroup their squad, we have no right to feel confident about our chances of securing anything big against Man City. Still though, you might want to hear my thoughts as to why I feel like Man City have lost that fear factor a bit. And I think it comes down to a multitude of reasons. I think number one, they've lost their defensive cheat codes in Rodri, who would marshal things at the back in front of that defense. But most importantly, they had a Kyle Walker, who was one of the fastest players in that league, who was regularly able to catch up to nearly every winger in the country and stop those spaces that City would naturally concede out wide in behind. So when you lose out on players like this, on top of the fact that Man City players have suffered a lot of injuries, a lot of issues, a lot of niggles, and very clearly, they aren't able to maintain that same intensity that they were famous for under Guardiola anymore, and it results in them being very open in transitional moments on the counter-attack and having their midfield overrun quite a lot at times. It's no surprise why a lot of teams are finding some joy now against Man City, playing crosses from out wide, a very classical way to break teams down. But City have struggled in these areas because teams are able to pick out crosses from great positions, and they're normally able to find runners attacking the box in behind, which puts them at a bigger advantage compared to a defender defending the cross. And this week's game against Paris Saint-Germain really just highlighted all the issues that Man City face, where, listen, you must respect them for their attacking threat and presence, but equally, you play correct, you play right, you use the width properly. There's a team here that's there for the taking. Credit to Man City for acting on things quickly. They're trying to fix some corrections now, of course, making the triple purchase of Victor Reich, Marmoush, and of course, the excellent Kusanov, who's that 1v1 defensive specialist that they really need at the back right now. Am I expecting any of them to play against us on Saturday? I'm not sure, but I would not be surprised to see at least a few sub-appearances from some of these new signings. Anyway, my friends, for this next segment, we discuss the 3 key players we must watch out for. And for the first player, obviously, it has to be Erling Haaland, the second highest scorer in the country right now, 1 goal less than Mohamed Salah, 17 goals in 22 Premier League appearances. And this is during a season where Haaland wasn't scoring goals for a run of games. But against us, now that we don't have a Thiago Silva who was single-handedly putting Haaland in his pocket, the guy is starting to run rampant against us now. You know, the past 5 games, 3 goals, 1 assist. And the thing with Haaland is he doesn't have to be in the game 24/7 at his peak. He is someone that is there for the moments, for the occasion. He does the decisive actions when it comes his way. His box movement is world-class, and his physicality. I mean, he's bigger than 95% of defenders in this country. Now that he's sold his soul to Man City, expect every goal-scoring record in the Premier League now to be absolutely destroyed. But you think to yourself, if you can limit what Haaland can do in game, but most importantly, if you limit the players that create for him, you hope to yourself, can we at least get an advantage in this game? For the second player, it has to be Kevin De Bruyne. Since he left us, he's been one of our biggest menaces over this last decade. He's got a personal vendetta against us whenever he plays. I see this guy raise his game, and for good reason. I mean, listen, last 5 games, he's come up with 4 assists. But the thing that makes me fear De Bruyne right now is those world-class timing of his movements when he makes those underlapping runs. I mean, he makes Man City tick offensively when they have him in that final third. But on top of that, don't forget this guy's incredible crossing from the pockets and the channels. And he has single-handedly, I think, produced 21 goals now for Erling Haaland. That is nearly one away from the amount of goals he created for Sergio Aguero in a fraction of the time. That is insane. So you think to yourself, curtailing De Bruyne gives you possibilities. And for the final player, I was going to say Savio, but I'm going to be going for Phil Foden. Now, he's found his form again. He had a really tough start to this season. Confidence issues, injuries, a lack of fitness, but Man City, they put their arm around him, the squad's been there for him, and he's now back to his best. His last 5 games, 5 goals, 2 assists, and the thing we have to be very wary for is how Phil Foden now just has this uncanny ability to find unmarked spaces inside the box, and he scored a lot of his goals from these late arrivals. This is a type of goal that is typically catching us out at times, and we have to be careful of resurgent Phil Foden who's in form, because when you're in form, shots that you take have a higher chance of going in the back of the net. So they're the 3 players I think we have to have a plan for to get something in this game. But my friends, what can I say? It's one of those games where I feel like we'll have to pray for Lady Luck to be on our side, because let's keep things real. There'll be times where we out-intensity Man City in the game. There'll be times where our tactical plan is probably going to exploit Man City's. But ultimately, it comes down to the simple principles. Do you take your chances that come your way? And can you mitigate the mistakes that you often create for yourself? On Saturday, this is a massive opportunity, I think, for Maresca to really just reinstill that confidence back in his ability again. But most importantly for these players, because my lords, we played so many big games against big opponents and not got 3 points. For me, it makes me fear about the mentality of the squad when all they know is defeat. And the last thing I want to see is an inferiority complex where eventually you just lose heart and faith in these big game encounters, because history shows nothing goes your way. I'm trusting Maresca's game plan to be on point. I'm trusting our wingers. They must play some of the best games of this season against Man City on Saturday, because this is where the game can be won. You're looking at Nico Jackson, my God. Scoreless streak is ridiculous. To not even have a striker already is even madder. But this guy has to find the back of the net. And worst comes to worst, you're hoping for that Cole Palmer genius to make the difference. So my friends, big game this weekend. You know what to expect in the preview. What I want to see from you guys is some love with the like button. Let's try and get 2K likes with this preview, my friends. Good vibes only. Hope you enjoy. And let's get straight into things. We kick things off with team news and expect Levi Corwell and Enzo Fernandez to be back in contention. Romeo Lavia is still out for the next few weeks, and personally I think it's a massive shame that we're set to miss out on his ability to break the play up and offer us that composure to play out from the back. I thought he was really good against City at the start of the season, and I think ideally Maresca wants to have 3 mids he can rely upon in a massive game like this, especially when it comes to winning that midfield battle. So right now we discussed the key talking points from the press conference, and naturally with the window coming to an end in the next week, what's Maresca's thoughts? Now, don't get excited that he's going to say anything salacious, and I'm going to remind you guys that Maresca is not our manager. In fact, he is the head coach, so he doesn't have a say. He just kind of accepts whatever's being offered his way. And I think that kind of energy is reflected now in his press conferences, as he even had the confidence to say, I don't need a midfield player. I've got Enzo, I've got Moises, I've got Dewsbury Hall, which is absolute cap because he did want a midfield player and we may still get one. His attentions then turn to Garnacho, and as he says again, listen, I've got Neto and Noni down the right-hand side. That makes a lot of sense. I have Sancho and I had Mudryk on the left, but now I have Tyreek George. And essentially, read behind the lines, what he's saying is I can't rule out the possibility that I'm not able to get reinforcement out wide. So I'm not going to be stupid and undermine the players that I'm currently working with right now for a future that may not happen, which makes a lot of sense. And listen, for a game like Man City, and if I'm a player, I want to hear my manager backing me because I want to feel that confidence going into that game. And naturally with this no-show answer, it ends on Joao Felix, and same old. Felix is for sure a Chelsea player, but unfortunately, himself and Christo can't get in the team because I only need one attacking midfield player, blah, 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 blah. We've heard it all before. It's absolute insanity that, the directors, it shows that disconnect between the manager's needs and his system and what they're giving him. Because, If you put all this groundwork in for Enzo Maresca, why would you force these type of attacking mid-style players on him, knowing that there's a big possibility they're not going to play, hence your investment won't make a return? Let's see if Felix finds a move at the end, but if this Garnacho thing goes through, yeah, obviously don't expect this guy to get much playing time. So that's that out of the way. And to end things, let's discuss Robert Sanchez, because to be fair, I don't think that this presser before the City game was really offering too much interesting things that we don't already know. But obviously the Sanchez quotes were pretty interesting, because Maresca, you could argue, deflected the criticism away from Robert Sanchez by actually saying, listen, Sanchez has made 4 mistakes, but you could also argue there's times where Moy hasn't connected his passes, or Noni hasn't put that cross in, or Nico hasn't taken his chances, and essentially saying, listen, our issues are bigger than the mistakes of Robert Sanchez. And to a degree, I can understand, because the 4 big mistakes from Sanchez were 2 howlers he made against Brighton in his worst performance this season. Cool, that's out the way. The mistake at the near post of Martinelli against Arsenal, that was poor on his part. And of course, last week against Wolves, for me, that was harsh because I thought he was fouled. And what I found funny was that the moment Wolves had another identical set piece straight after the equalizer, he did the right action and he punched it away. And I think I want to hold on to that action, because for me, that kind of summarizes Sanchez the most, where ultimately, I'm sorry, I feel like he has done more good than bad. I know how reactionary the fan base is. Our memories only go back to last week, but we can't forget the top saves, countless saves, decisive saves he's made for us throughout the season. And that can't be ignored. And I'm sorry, I think another thing we have to also use our brains on is, if you got a game against Man City this weekend, why the hell would any serious manager put your number 1 keeper under pressure by even daring to suggest that you should be doing better? You would not do that. You would not do that. That is stupid, yeah? Sanchez has done more good than bad. And we need that goodness to come out against Man City, because he's going to be key for us, especially defending those set pieces. So they're the key points on the presser. Share your thoughts and opinions. And now we move on to the predicted lineup. And for me, this might be one of the easiest lineups to predict this whole season. As you guys have seen on screen, Nico up front, in behind, Sancho, Palmer, Noni, behind him Enzo and Moises, and defense of Cuckoo, I'm going for Chalobah, Colwell and Reece James with Sanchez in goal. Now, Sanchez speaks for himself, but in defense, you know, I'm kind of giving up on this experiment that we're going to see Reece James play this inverted role. I think it will happen at times when it needs to, but I think against Man City, he'll be up against Doku, and Doku will have nightmares of his previous encounters with Reece James. So for those reasons, when it comes to defending those transitions and wide areas out wide, we're going to need Reece James, you know, playing as part of that makeshift back 3. That makes a lot of sense. But even then, he's got the license to connect up with Noni, to push into midfield, and also to link up with Cole Palmer. So Reece James being available for a game like this is a big boost for us. And in defense, I've had to go for Trevor Chalobah because I thought his man of the match performance was that good. And I just think that against City, you need to have a bit of pace. Also, I want to have that player that can maybe sneakily get us something from a set piece. You know, Chalobah is very strong aerially, and he's comfortable playing out from both sides. So I could see Chalobah moving to the left side with Colwell taking up the central centre-back role where, listen, he's been one of the top ball-playing defenders in the league so far, and he's only 21 years old, which gets forgotten about quite a lot, but he's been really good at just breaking the lines for us, kick-starting moves, and I feel, you know, comfortable having a Cobham back 3 of Chalobah, Colwell, and Reece James. Naturally, this means Cucurella continues to invert, which makes the most sense for him because Cuckoo's best defensive work comes from the interception, comes from the proactive play, comes from sensing the danger and stopping the counter from forming and having any life from his infancy. He's not the type of guy you're going to have defending a winger deep. I will never forget his nightmare against Anthony, of all players, against Manchester United, but it really shows how this system really, you know, brings the best out of Cucurella's qualities right now. And we're going to need that, you know, because Moises will need that protection, and we're going to need Cuckoo's intensity. That will be the key things for us. The intensity. We must out-intensity Man City's midfield to have a strong chance of getting something. Midfield speaks for itself, but up front, it's got to be Jadon Sancho. I think he offers us the best consistency down the left-hand side. His game doesn't naturally have to be about getting the assist or the goal every time, because I think what he does in terms of the combination plays, tactical work, his improvements off the ball defensively, but also the reliability he brings from being able to get past his man, slip guys in behind. He's had a really good understanding with Cucurella, and I think low-key the left side could give us something against Man City this Saturday. So obviously this means Cole Palmer, fully fit Palmer. Let's see what this guy can do. Noni Madueke. Noni, if there's one criticism I have for Noni, he doesn't excel in the big game so far. And against this Man City team, I hope this guy was heavily watching that Paris Saint-Germain game. I hope he's got the comps and highlights saved on his phone and he's studying that every single day, every hour, because he steps up on point. He gets at his man. He can produce us something against City. I'm hoping Noni steps up in the big game for once. And naturally, we end things with Nico. And I have to say, I think it's a massive disservice that we have not been able to secure that number 2, because I'm sorry, when your striker and Nico is not firing, normally at big clubs, the number 2 comes in, he shines, he does his thing. And that is like the wake-up call for a Nico to be like, crap, I now have a reason to get better. He's in a terrible stage right now where every time he has an opportunity on goal, he's overthinking. He's in his head. And the worst thing you want to be as a striker is not trusting your instincts, because it's going to come to bite you in the ass in these high pressure moments. So my friends, that's my predicted lineup. Share yours below. Could we see some tactical surprises? Let us know. And to end things with the prediction, like I would love to talk my stuff right now and be like, yo, you guys, this is the moment. We're going to beat Man City. We're going to get 3 points. This is going to be the turning point of our season. And we're going to go on this mini winning streak right now. I'd love to have that energy. The fan part of me does. I'll keep it real. But nah, man. Honestly, I'd be happy to get a draw. I just feel like City are that bogey team where, you know, no matter what, they can shake something out from nowhere. Luck can go their way. They have the quality to just take advantage of something. Or we won't score our goal and we'll make a mistake out from nowhere. That's what keeps happening with us, man. So I'm going for a 2-2 draw because I think both teams could score against each other. So let's see what happens there. But anyway, my friends, that is the end of the preview. I hope you guys enjoy. Get involved in the conversation. Share your thoughts on the game. Let us know what you are expecting to see. And I'll see you guys probably later on today with more news updates. So don't go nowhere. Cool.